So I want to throw this out, J-Mac. So we talked about this earlier. You apparently, I stay off it, but you apparently were getting a bunch of crap for suggesting that Jimmy Butler's had a better career than Klay Thompson. Klay's got 4 finals. And the argument for it is Butler's the better player, obviously, but what do rings matter? And so it got us to thinking about 10 minutes ago, if I asked you today, you the consumer, who would you rather be, Scottie Pippen or Charles Barkley? I'd rather be Barkley. Barkley doesn't get the rings, but was such a great player and big personalities, making $20 million a year talking basketball, making us all laugh at night. Pippen never gets the credit. Always underserved, almost marginalized. In the Phil Jackson, I mean, even when you watch the documentary, it was about Michael, Phil, Rodman, and a little bit of Scottie. I mean, it was Kerr and the punch played a big part. So he gets marginalized in those. Then Scottie moved around, didn't have as much success. I'd rather be Barkley. Would you rather be, I guess the football argument's harder to find a football argument.
Can I say something on Pippen real quick?
Please.
So Michael Jordan quits basketball, and Scottie Pippen leads the Bulls to, I believe, 57 wins.
No, Jordan was 57 the year before. Pippen was 55.
For 57 to 55.
And they were still very good.
That's really good. Scottie Pippen, nice job. He didn't win MVP of the league. Charles Barkley was an MVP of the league, meaning he was the best player in the NBA.
Barkley was a much better player.
But obviously a better player. And, I get it. Scottie Pippen has 6 rings, but this whole rings debate, I think you and I can probably be the voice of reason here and puncture it on some level. Just because you have 4 rings
let me ask you this.
You weren't the best player on the team, it doesn't mean you had the better career than a guy like Jimmy Butler. And I'll stand by that forever.
Now, the football argument, would you rather be Dan Marino, who's in everybody's top 10 list? I mean, to be honest with you, until Mahomes arrived, he was in everybody's top 5 or 6. Or Big Ben, who's not as good, but he had a much... he had great defenses. He had great run games with the bus. He had much more. He had a better components around him, won championships. But, I mean, the first championship he won with the Steelers, he was awful. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. They won despite him.
He was a young very young quarterback.
Okay, so what would you rather be? It's a tough one. That one's a go either way, because in football, winning is really everything. Whereas in basketball, it's not as much. There's a lot to be said about, Dr. J, his style is half his brand. When I think Dr. J, I don't think about rings. I think about his style. Dr. J was why I love basketball. And so we don't talk about Bill Russell. He's got 11 rings. We talk more about Kareem. We talk about Shaq. We talk flair and style and the aesthetics and the power. I don't talk Bill Russell. I never have, and I've been in this business 30 years. So in basketball, winning is really not the be-all, end-all. I don't think. I think it matters, but I would rather be Barkley than Pippen today.
For instance, Kawhi Leonard, who was in the same draft as Jimmy Butler. Kawhi Leonard, he has 2 Finals MVPs. He's obviously better than Jimmy Butler. Well, if you drill down a little bit, and we called it up, that Finals where they crushed the Heat at the end of the Heat's run, 4-1. Kawhi averaged 17 a game. He wasn't otherworldly in that series. And he defended LeBron, but LeBron put up numbers.
I mean, prime example is, Kawhi's a great example.
Yeah.
He discombobulated. He got a title, but he discombobulated with the Spurs. He was a one-and-doner with Toronto, and it's been a disaster.
And by the way, that Toronto championship, we need to be clear. Kevin Durant played 11 minutes in the series.
It is.
Come on.
I have nothing but respect for Toronto.
Yeah.
It would be like playing Georgia in the national championship, and they missed 7 starters. They literally, Clay was hurt, Steph was hurt, they fell apart. Golden State, they literally ran out of usable parts. Toronto would have lost the series. They were a massive dog. So let's be fair about it. But they got it, and they deserve it, and the fans are amazing.
Sure.
That's great. But what is Kawhi Leonard's legacy today? Odd, not available, disruptive, hard to coach, hard to play with. What's Jimmy Butler's legacy today? The man.
Tough.
You know what? The best. A tough you know what. Yeah. Jimmy Butler is what all of us want our player to be. He's better. It's like Derek Jeter. His most memorable plays are in the World Series. It's against, or the ALCS. It's against the Red Sox or the A's. Whereas A-Rod is a great player, but doesn't have as many postseason memories. Who do you want to be? I would say Jeter, where I'm known as, so in baseball, I do think World Series greatness really defines Jeter's career. I would rather be, if you're asking me the career, not the person, but I would rather take Jeter's career, less talented than A-Rod, but his moments in baseball are in the fall classic. So I love, whereas A-Rod's just a talent. But Barkley's kind of just a talent. Pippen's great memories are in the final. I'd rather be Barkley.
Yeah, Pippen did a lot of the gritty work, defensively.
Never got the love he deserved.
Yeah, totally.
So it's funny. So the point is, it's all different. In baseball, I would rather have those great Jeter highlights, jumping in the stands, ALCS, all this stuff, over A-Rod's talent. In the NBA, I'd rather just, maybe because it's a star league, I'd rather be Barkley the star than Pippen the title guy. So, so in football, Aikman or Marino. Now I'd be Aikman, because Aikman, I got 3 rings. Aikman is top. So
that's a super interesting one. His numbers, Aikman, obviously Hall of Fame, great quarterback. He threw for more than 20 touchdowns once in his career.
I know, but
Dan Marino, his numbers are staggering.
No.
Dan Marino, MVP, finished 3rd in the MVP voting. It was undeniable that he was one of the best players in the league. Aikman had an awesome team. He was a very good quarterback, but he had one of the most loaded teams
but again, of that era. We go back to again. So in football, where I mostly care about winning, as great as Marino was, I would take Aikman's career.
Okay.
In basketball, as great as the winning is for Pippen, I'd take Barkley's career. So I guess the point is, it depends on the culture in the sport. Like in soccer, which is star-driven, it doesn't matter if Messi wins or not. I'd take Messi's career over some guy that won 3 World Cups. You know what I mean? Like in soccer, I would rather be, Messi's going to make $300 million a year. So in basketball and soccer, because those are celebrity-driven, star-driven vehicles, sports, I'd rather be the star. In football, it's about winning. I'd rather have the titles. I'd rather be Aikman than Marino.
Well, I like winning. Winning usually trumps everything. But in this scenario, like Jimmy Butler's story of, he had to fax his college acceptance letter from a McDonald's because he didn't have a fax machine. Like if you drill down and read some of the profiles, Butler's story is incredible, what he's overcome to become a superstar. Klay's dad played in the NBA, okay? Klay Thompson was a very good prospect, went to, Washington State. Everybody knew he was going to be good. Butler, 30th pick, when he came into the NBA, he wasn't doing anything. What he has become, I think, is part of his story and narrative that makes it so unbelievable.
I think it's almost like the NBA and international soccer are star-driven platforms, right? So I'd rather be the star than collect Robert Horry, or Bill Russell rings. I'd rather be the star in basketball.
Bill Russell was a star on some of those rings.
Yeah, no, he was.
Obviously.
That's true. That's fair. But in other, like in tech, would I rather be somebody in tech that was not very good working well with others, but I started a company, got the bag, and then for the rest of my career, I didn't work at companies, got fired multiple times, but I started a company, got the bag, retired. Or would you rather be a guy that worked at Apple 35 years, did very well, part of a team? Well, I'd rather be the get the bag guy. I'd rather be the maverick in tech, because tech is a star-driven business. NBA, international soccer, those are I'd rather be a Pele. I'd rather be a Ronaldo. I don't care about their World Cups. Soccer diehards do. I don't care. But in basketball, international soccer, tech, there's an argument, just be a star. It will pay you the rest of your life. Your legacy will be impenetrable, right?
How some of these guys became a star. Giannis falls in the draft. He was a skinny kid. Nobody thought, when you draft Giannis, you don't think this guy's going to win an MVP and be the best player in the league. Jokic, we're seeing in the NBA, Colin, some of these underdog stories, how they become stars and just overtake other guys who were massive stars.
Think about it.
You don't really see that as much in the NFL, I don't think. Pat Mahomes did fall to 10, and he's, one of the great quarterbacks of all time. But, the stories in the NBA, like Steph Curry when he was drafted, nobody on planet Earth said he's going to be a two-time MVP and win titles.
Just to show you how much fight and will matters, think about guys who have had recent playoff success. Jokic, second round. Draymond, second round. Giannis, not a top pick, overlooked. Steph Curry went to Davidson. Jimmy Butler, 30th pick.
There is something to
the fight.
Exactly.
Because in the NBA, the referees tend to swallow a whistle, and it's an endurance test. It's 7 games. First round, 7 games. Second round, 7 games. Third round, 7 games. Championship, 7 games. It is a marathon, and tough and fight and will matters. And also, it's the only time we watch the NBA. If you look at the ratings, you get eaten alive on bad games. Do you have the strength above the shoulders to handle it? Or will you? Remember the bubble year? Like the Lakers were just the strongest mental team, and they won. The Clippers fell apart. A lot of these teams could not take the COVID year, the bubble, away from their families. That became a mental endurance test, and the Lakers, because of LeBron, were very strong above the shoulders. And they just, Vogel, veteran coach, LeBron, AD, they all got together and said, guys, I remember hearing the story about this. LeBron sat them down in a room and said, fellas, we can wilt or we can win the title. And a lot of teams are wilting in this bubble. We can't wilt. All right.
By the way, just to finish up one thing, remember Tatum when he came out of Duke? They lost in the second round. Coach K, I'll never forget, they lost to South Carolina, brutal game.
Remember that.
All the talk ahead of the draft in 2017 was, so do you take Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball? That was the talk of the draft. Markelle Fultz, a highly touted recruit. Fultz goes 1 to the Sixers. Lonzo Ball goes 2nd to the Lakers. And Jason Tatum, who has been by far better than those guys, falls 3rd to Boston. Top 2 guys, I don't know if Fultz is, I don't know what his career is going to be. Lonzo Ball, injuries galore. Jason Tatum falls just a couple notches. Sometimes you don't want to be the number 1 pick. You don't want to be at the very top. The pressure, like you said, it gets to some of these guys, gets in their head. If they don't have that grit and toughness, it's tough to overcome.
It's a lot, especially now that NBA guys, they come into the league at 19. Can you imagine at 19 being famous and rich? I would have been, I just wasn't ready. I was not ready. Yeah. Barely ready for it now. Not really famous, but not.
Oh, please.